Thank you for turning to page 121. Today we're going to take a look at an old friend, challenge number 34 from 1988. This might have been early 89 actually. This the beginning of Space 1889 for GDW. They were trying out a brand new game, a steampunk kind of game. So we're going to take a look through the magazine, what this has to offer for my good friend Traveler, as well as some other stuff. And we'll just go through it cover to cover. Real quick, too, subscribers, please. Patrons, please. Thank you to both subscribers and patrons. Please take a look, help support the channel. Done. Here we go. Back to challenge number 34, featuring Space 1889, a new release from GDW. Today on page 121. All right, issue 34 of Challenge Magazine. I have to admit, I cringed a little when I saw this in the stands because of the Space 1889 being featured. I love 19th century science fiction, big Jules Verne fan, big H.G. Wells fan, sorry, and even the Professor Challenger series by Arthur Conan Doyle. Those are really fun, but for some reason, steampunk never really spoke to me, and I'm not sure why. But we're going to take a look through the issue and see what it had to offer. So here we go. Nice. I like the cover art on this. I really do. We open this guy up. What are you looking at? This for Twilight 2000, the Howling Wilderness from Game Designer's Workshop. And then, of course, the table of contents, the masthead. This guy is copyright 1988. I thought it was. So it's still 1988, even though we're getting into Space 1889. So we're going to take a look at the articles. We have from the management, just a quick little memo from the manager, or from the editor. Just detected conventions. So if you hurry in 1988, you can make these cons still. And then Airstrike, designer's notes for Air Superiority, a GDW house game. And then attention retailers, manufacturers, and distributors. The Game Manufacturers Association trade show is designed for you. A trade show in Plano, Texas. So you can come there. That'd be kind of neat. I would like to have gone to that back in, 35 years ago. Welcome to the Mideast for Air Superiority from Game Designer's Workshop. GDW was always coming out with new games. That was one of the things that was neat about the company. The smaller games they used to come out with. And then, of course, the other lines like Twilight 2000, which I'm on right now, Space 1889, and so forth. They had a lot of different games. So here we have Mobile Artillery and Mortars for Twilight 2000 game. And then, sitting with Twilight 2000, the complete NPC. So you go ahead and you fill out all the stuff in the NPC. His eye color, his hair color, his tendencies. That way you bring them to life. Actually, that is true. I said that in kind of a mocking tone. I didn't mean to. Continuing on the article there, we go to Paper Mayhem, the informative play-by-mail magazine. Don't remember Paper Mayhem, from Ottawa, Illinois, downstate Illinois. The Great Patriotic War from Game Designer's Workshop. In June, the German army launched what was to be a 10 to 12-week campaign designed to crush the Soviet Union. So another historical game from Game Designer's Workshop. And then first look at Space 1889, the cloud ship design. Sky Galleons of Mars is set in an interesting period in European colonial expansion on Mars. And this is some fun stuff. There was Edgar Rice Burroughs did a lot of the John Carter stuff in Mars, and there's a ton of background information for this type of setting. I imagine this is still available somewhere. I don't know if it's on drive-thru or not, actually. Space 1889. I would have to look. But here we go. The Sky Galleons continue on. And it was written by Frank Chadwick. At last, a game company that takes you seriously. Task Force Games out of Van Nuys, California. Task Force Games, publishers of Starfleet Battles, Grimtooth Traps, and more. Starfleet Battles, I did play. Grimtooth Traps, I never owned, but I did thumb through a couple of copies owned by some of my players. It was not bad. Ironclads and Ether Flyers, again for Space 1889. Again by Frank Chadwick. The Canals of Mars, Martian Canal Nomenclature. So Martian water cycle. It's all pretty good. Like I said, I didn't get into the game. I was very aware of it. Obviously, it was in this issue of Challenge magazine, and I saw it on the shelves. And I even discussed it with one of my players. That the guy I had a player that he was a GM sometimes, he was a player sometimes, but he was one of those people that we would sit down and we would play the oddball games with. I miss gaming with him because it was fun. We would just sit down and say, okay, what do you want to play today? Well, let's try Space Master. And we'd sit down and we'd play a couple of rounds of Space Master. What do you want to play? How about Renegade Legion Leviathan? Or Renegade Legion, the one with the tanks. I forget off the top of my head. But he and I would just sit down and we'd kill an afternoon playing a game we'd never played before. He unfortunately moved away years and years ago. So continuing on, Space 1889. I keep wanting to say Space 1999, which is, of course, I think what they're making a pun on there. The absolute best quality, 2300 AD. Just a good review of it for Game Designers Workshop. It's a house ad. Twilight 2000, air superiority. Notice the Traveler's not getting a lot of love. That happens sometimes. Traveler kind of became the one that everybody expected. Therefore, it didn't see quite as much love. I felt sometimes in this magazine. There's one issue coming up in about issue 50 thereabouts, where I believe the only Traveler offering was the Traveler News Service. I don't think we got anything else for Traveler for that issue. Space 89, the Ether, another ship. Or no, Ether is the space in which we fly. Sorry. And here we go for the end of the Ether article by Mark Miller. And then approved for use with Mega Traveler, detailed Starship deck plans. Now available at your local game dealer. These were Seeker, a system defense boat, Empress Morava 2, Express boat tender and scout ship, subsidized merchant, and 5 small craft of the Imperium. I don't think I have any of these guys. I'm not sure. I would have to look. I don't really remember seeing these on the shelves. It could just be that my stores didn't get it. Wrecked Enterprise is coming. Software Mega Companion for the Amiga, C64, C28, Commodore 64, Commodore 128, and IBM PC. Supplements for Mega Traveler. That's cool. Out of New York. And then the Smoking Flax. This looks like an adventure for Space 1889. And continuing through, we get a special supplement for Space 1889, which is showing all kinds of stuff, the conquest of space. So this would be a lot of the stuff that would have come in the box set. This was all to tease us in and make us get really excited and pick this up. Again, I could definitely see where there was playability in this, and I like a lot of the ideas in here. I'm sure I even lifted a couple from this game for D&D, but it just didn't resonate with me for some reason. Challenge COA and subscription service. Little survey on the back here. A nice look at Mars, the red planet, smaller than Earth. So this is apparently more like John Carter of Mars and the Edgar Rice Burroughs stuff. I've read a couple of those too. I don't mind them. It's just not something that resonates with me. Okay. And then we're out of the Space 1889 supplement. This is a detachable supplement. You can pull it out and throw it in your Space 1889 box. And then we have Space Gamer and Fantasy Gamer is back. It's a magazine. Is returning well in time for Christmas. And you can go ahead and subscribe for that. Let's see. There were some bundle packs here. Traveler 1, Traveler 2. Interesting. The Traveler News Service. What's going on in the rebellion? Very important. We're up to 1118 here. And we are starting in Vland. Latest recorded tirade by Okios, the violently charismatic Vargir leader, arrived by special packet from beyond the Imperial border today. So it's just, these were neat, little capsules to tell us what was going on. Generating iris characters. Let's see. Tables and guidelines used same fashion as supplement 4 and 5 or Mega Traveler. Mega Traveler was still getting its feet under it, so a lot of the articles were still doing the what is now Classic Traveler, but they were doing the Traveler write-ups, and then they were doing the Mega Traveler write-ups. Let's see. Regency's operations and history. Oh, this is the Imperial Regency Intelligence Service, I believe. For Back Behind the Claw, if I'm not mistaken. So IRIS, you could run your character out of this. That's kind of neat. I like covert characters. Spies. I had one who was an IBIS agent. I forget what IBIS stands for off the top of my head. It's from an old Dragon article. My buddy Xeroxed a copy of the article for me for my character, and I had a lot of fun with him. That was my old character, Rourke Walton. So here's the actual character write-up for you. Neat 80s article, and then, of course, the Shattered Sphere. And then we have Ogre 2300. Ogre 2300 for Traveler 2300. Okay. Sky Galleons of Mars for Space 1889, which was new at your local dealer. Ironclads and Other Flyers board game, also. Kind of neat. Okay. Space 1889 makes Victorian era science fiction role playing. The event for 1989. And then Thorez, also for 2300. It's a French space plane. Not a lot of Traveler in this one. Continuing on the 2300 AD. I did play 2300 AD for a while. I didn't stay with it a real long time. But I definitely gave it its try. I would prefer to spend my time playing Traveler. It's just really the choice I made. Here we have Challenge the Stars with Space Master, the role-playing game. Navigate across the galaxy and explore mysterious planets in a realistic and fast-moving adventure game. If you want charts... Now, I always kind of make fun of the ICE Space Master, Roll Master stuff, but I have to admit, we had an effect once where there was a crit rolled. I believe it was a ray gun. Don't hold me to this. This was 35 years ago. Or 25 years ago. The crit was rolled in Space Master, and we ran through all the tables, and then it took us to multiple tables with all these entries and everything. And it ended up that the person who was shot by the ray gun and got the crit ended up getting crushed. And I remember we just laughed like crazy that the result we got was that he was crushed. So we ruled that he was actually thrown back by the blast or stumbled from the blast and then stumbled into some unstable shelving, and the shelving collapsed on him and crushed him. But it was a really funny result. The Albedo role-playing game, a universe of anthropomorphic science fiction adventure. If you want to play a space mouse, or you can play a Vargir or an Aslan, some kind of, I don't know, badger lady, and maybe a koala. Interesting. This was out of Thoughts and Images out of Seattle, Washington. And then we have InApp, which is for 2300 also. Very skimpy on the Traveler stuff in this issue. We just got the JTAS, or the Traveler's Aid, the Travel News Service, I'm sorry, and then one article for Traveler. That happened sometimes in this magazine. It was a little frustrating, I have to say, because I did buy primarily for Traveler content, and Traveler was sometimes ignored. 2300 AD Revision, the June 88 issue of Isaac Asimov's science fiction magazine, in this 1987 Science Fiction Games of the Year, made it 2300 by Matthew J. Costello. Okay. I know 2300 was a well-regarded game, and I have nothing against it. It was just a game that, if I had time to play a science fiction game, I would usually choose to play Traveler. Ride the Crest of the Wave, from the editors of Mega Traveler, Digest Group Publications. These are good. I have both these items. I loved DGP. We all know the sad story of DGP. I'm actually going to be taking a look at Traveler's Digest and one of the more unusual conventions they did in that magazine. That'll be coming up soon on the channel. And a nice ad for Mega Traveler, science fiction role-playing. Pretty much their best seller at the time, so sometimes it didn't get the love it should have in Challenge Magazine. And now we have a review of Cthulhu Now. Cthulhu's been around for a long time. And Star Wars Campaign Pack. West End Star Wars was pretty good. I liked that. I played it a couple of times. I never ran it, but I did play it. I enjoyed it. I remember the luck die was one of those things where you would have a luck so many luck points, and it would get you a die. So if you had a really bad roll, you could throw an extra die, and that would improve the roll. I just remember that convention out of it, really, and I did like it. And that's really it for there. Continuing on the article here. And then we have approved for use with Traveler. This is from Game Lords. Undersea environment, mountain environment, desert, and adventure. Lee's Guide to Interstellar Adventure. I liked Game Lord stuff. They were only around a very, very brief time. All classic Traveler. And then, of course, the classifieds. What's not to love about classified ads? This is how we used to communicate. Although I never did anything interactively with the classifieds. Pretty interesting stuff. The No D&D Gamers of Denver run Mega Traveler bi-weekly. Yes, there was a movement for a while in the very late 80s, at least around the Chicagoland area. People would post on hobby boards or at hobby stores on the board there, player wanted. In fact, that's how my player Mike joined us. We saw his posting at Pat's Hobbies in Oak Lawn, Illinois, and Mike lived right by there, so I took down his name and number, went home and called him, and that was 36 years ago, so it worked out. But there was a trend for a while to specifically say no D&D. There was just a push against D&D in the late 80s, early 90s, where people would pointedly say, we are a gaming group, but we don't play D&D. I never understood it myself, but okay. So there's the classifieds in the next issue. We have Twilight 2000, Space 1889, The Spice of Life for Mega Traveler characters, more 2300, a Battletech article, which they do periodically, Star Trek, Renegade Legion, Paranoia, and more. An Invasion, the Capers have been busy, and Traveler 2300. Those are the boogeymen, the bad guys. And then going out on the back, a fine ad for Mega Traveler Referee's Companion, which is still a handy book. And by the way, even if you're into Mongoose Traveler, the Mega Traveler stuff still does translate pretty well. I know Rebellion Era is not powerful, or not popular rather, and I completely understand it, although I'll always have nostalgia for it. But still, it's Traveler and it's fun to read. But that's all I've got today from page 121. For me, a disappointing issue of Challenge. I had actually toyed with skipping this issue in my flip through of these, but I thought that there would be people out there that would kill me for going out of numerical sequence. Let me know what you think of this series if you want me to keep going through the Challenge magazines. They don't always have a ton of Traveler reference, so let me know what you think. This might become a little bit less frequent of a series for me because it hasn't proven to be terribly popular. But let me know your thoughts, and thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time on page 121.